Start stream. Okay. So I'll pass over to you, Kim, to start the event. Thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone to this Girls Connect with Parliamentarians event, which is part of the European Week of Action for Girls. I'm Kim Chakaneta, and I want to extend a special welcome to our speakers who are joining me here on this platform, and those of you watching us on live stream, a very warm welcome to you all. Now, the theme of the campaign this year is the EU-Africa partnership and the growth of that relationship between Africa and the EU, and how it's imperative that as that develops, the voices of girls and young women remain a key part of the conversation. And that's what we're doing here today. We're carving out a space for the EWAG youth champions to share their messages directly with parliamentarians from Europe and Africa. And we're delighted to have with us not one, not two, but three parliamentarians. And I'll introduce the Mep Chrysula Zakarappalu first. She is the European Parliament Rapporteur on the African EU strategy. And she's also a strong advocate for the sexual and reproductive health and rights of girls and women. So she's the ideal person to have on our panel today. So very warm welcome to you, Chrysula. Now, most of us have dreams and goals as little girls. Our next guest decided she wanted to become an MP at the age of 13. And well, she achieved that. She is now a member of parliament in Kenya. She is the Honorable Millie Odhiambo Mabona, and she's someone who is a vocal champion for women's and children's rights. Thank you for joining us, Millie. And I'm also delighted to have from Kenya as well, the Honourable Esther Pasaris. She is a member of parliament, but also an accomplished business leader and social entrepreneur who's won awards for her work in empowering people in the deaf community. So welcome to you too. You'll also be hearing from a dynamic selection of young women who are EWAG Youth Champions. They are Kenel from France, Claudia from Ghana, Rama from Kenya, and Elena from Greece. Now, just a quick overview of how things are going to work. We're going to hear first from our parliamentarians, then from our EWAG champions, and then there'll be an opportunity, we hope, to open up the floor to questions, time permitting. So please keep, you can start writing your questions out and hopefully we can come to those, and I'll be keeping my eye on my watch. I'd like to first turn to the MEP, Chrysula Zakarappalu. Chrysula, what as a parliamentarian are you doing to advance girls' rights? And this is with specific reference to the relations between EU and the African continent.
Hello, I'm very happy to be with you, with all of you. I don't know personally the Honorable Odhiambo, but I know Esther. I saw her 1 year ago when I was in Kenya, and I'm happy to see her again. As you said, and I thank you very much, my commitment for Africa and for the empowerment of women and girls. Before to be elected, I was in the hospital. I'm a gynecologist, so I choose this specialty because I wanted, to help women. What about when I was elected? I chose to be member of the Deaf Committee of the Development, and because I think that the empowerment of girls and women is the key for the success of the world. Yes, it was at the beginning of the year, I was appointed rapporteur of the European Parliament for the new Africa EU strategy. And so I decided to make this report. Originally, I said I'm going to go to Africa to visit the different countries and to associate all the civil society, the African civil society, so I can have a report that is something that I can bring on this report, your voice. Among these people, during the consultation, African women and girls were protagonists, they touch me a lot, because I understood that you are the energy of the African continent, your optimism, your courage, your that you want to succeed. And I saw how many beautiful things you are realized on the field. I met a woman entrepreneurship. I met a woman who believes that the empowerment of the woman will be based on the education. I saw the determination, and I think you are the key for the transition of the African continent. I believe also that you have a very important role on the political decision, and Africa needs you. And unfortunately, we face a situation that is not, that is for the first time, all the globe face this pandemic with the COVID. And we saw that, unfortunately, the victims, we can say, are, for one more time, and women and girls. The life of many women and girls change, and they cannot go also to the school. The daily lives actually is different for all of us, and especially for girls. And I think that this situation of COVID has exacerbated the inequalities. And so I believe that we cannot have development without gender equality. And in my draft, and I'm very, very happy to say, and I'm proud, because the European Parliament believes that the gender equality is the key of the success of this new Africa EU strategy. We believe that you have to have access to education, to health, to employment, to resources, to credit, to political participation. The progress, if you are not part of this, the progress for Africa continent will be very, very slow. So we have some clear objectives on this draft, and the key of the success, it will be the participation and the engagement of civil society, because you have a key role if we want to have a success of this draft. So I want to say thank you for the experience that I shared with you in Africa, and thank you because you give me the force to fight for this draft during the votes and at the end of November. And it can be this draft an important paper that we can start to work together, women and girls from Europe and women from girls from Africa. We have to construct bridges between us, and I think that the future is yours. The future is our future will be together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chrysula, for that introductory message. Now I would like to give the floor to Millie for her remarks. Oh, I think you're muted at the moment. There we go.
Thank you, and let me just say I'm very glad to join you, and I want to thank Honorable Chrysula. I hope I got your name right. Thank you very much for the kind remarks that you have made and the work that you have done in highlighting the issues that are of concern. And I can say that you have actually captured a lot of the issues that are of concern to us. In Kenya, for instance, one of the core issues that have been of concern to us is ensuring enhanced gender representation in both elective and representative uh, positions in Kenya. And in Parliament, we managed to get an increase in the number of women when you pass a new constitution. However, the numbers are still not enough. And for those who may follow Kenyan news, we are dealing with a challenge um, where the Chief Justice has advised the President to dissolve Parliament because the Parliament is unconstitutional. And so that's one of the things that we are still grappling with as a country. But also the issue of coronavirus has now enhanced some of the challenges that we have been facing in education, which has had a lot of gender disparity. And we know that a lot of the girls might fall out of school, especially out of pregnancies, because there's been an increase in teenage pregnancies during this period that we have been going through the COVID pandemic. And so for us as a country, one of the challenges that we are, and as a parliament, one of the issues that we are trying to work on is to ensure that we see how to ensure that these girls continue with their education. Again, there's also the issue of ensuring that our laws are enhanced to better protect our girls against sexual and gender-based violence. We have a law in the Sexual Offences Act, but when it is violence that relates to girls versus boys, then, I mean, for people who are underage, the law is currently still not adequate. And of course, we have a lot of, we don't have a law on reproductive rights. And that is part of the reason that we are seeing a lot of cases of early pregnancies, because Kenya being fairly a conservative community, people don't want to talk about the situation that we are faced with many girls getting pregnant, and no solutions are being offered. How do you deal with this? There are institutions that don't want the introduction of sex education in whatever form. And so one of the things that we have to do as a country and as leaders is working around coming up with laws that will enable us to deal with some of the issues that we are currently confronting as a country. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Millie, for laying out those challenges ahead. Let's move along to Honourable Esther for her remarks.
I can say very little, but she's my mentor as well in Parliament. What I want to say is I'm a first-time parliamentarian.
Okay, it seems like she is breaking up a little bit. Give another minute to try see if she can reconnect. Okay, so what we might do is come back to Honourable Esther for her remarks. But for now, I will just say a big thank you to our parliamentarians, and we'll move on to hear from our EWAG youth champions who have for the past few months been discussing and jointly developing their messages on how the future EU-Africa partnership could be an opportunity to have girls at the core. And they focused on 4 key priority areas. These are education and economic empowerment, health and sexual and reproductive health and rights, and also political participation and sexual and gender-based violence. Those are the areas they focused on. So I'd like to start by handing over first to Canel.
Hello, everyone. So first of all, thank you for everyone to be here, and also to all parliamentarians for accepting our invitation and giving us the opportunity to discuss with you about girls and human rights. So yeah, my name is Canel, and I come from France. I'm 25 years old, and I joined recently the One Campaign Youth Ambassador Program. And as a young woman representing the girl community, I'm here today to speak out for girls' participation and political empowerment. And if I decide to join this initiative, it's because when I was younger, as a high-level athlete, I had to face so many challenges and often associated to a gender discrimination. And even though the situation was really hard, it helped to define and shape myself into the person that I am today. And it was therefore important for me to take part in this European Week of Action for Girls and take the opportunity to speak out behalf of the million of girls that do not have the same opportunity in life as their brother. And being a change maker is what I would like to become. And today, having the opportunity as a young European woman to shape the EU Africa of tomorrow is the first step to make my voice stronger. So based on this personal experience, but also thanks to the inspiring exchange that I have with the other youth advocates, we put together a recommendation and solution to make sure that girls' voice are at the center of the decision-making process and that their rights would be respected into the new partnership. So as you know, youth participation in the political dialogue is quite low, and there is still many barriers as well as negative norms that prevent women and girls from fully expressing themselves, and in particularly in the developing country. And according to the recent studies, in fact, so 18% of government ministerial positions worldwide are held by women. And also in 2018, there were only 17 women head of state or prime minister across 149 countries. But I wonder myself, why, if young women and girls have the motivation to become drivers of change, governments don't enable them to have a voice? Why don't they encourage them to change the usual leadership vision instead? Girl political empowerment should not be seen as threats, but rather as an opportunity for the future and the next generation. And this is the reason I'm here today. So under the new EU partnership, in order to effectively tackle issues that are affecting girls, we need to invite them in the decision-making and political process. We will not go forward and provide a safer future forward if we do not seriously take into consideration the needs and concern. And this is why, speaking on behalf of the group on girls' participation in political empowerment, we call for platform and mechanism for youth participation that could reach young people in their diversity for different online, but also offline communication, which means, for example, creating a European and African Youth Council in which a woman youth program will be delivered, or organizing a global day for youth advocates in order to recognize and amplify girls' voice and build their capacity to participate and lead, but also creating inclusive and meaningful participation of girls at every stage of the decision-making process and translate the idea into action. And first, introducing opportunities for consultation initiatives that are adapted to each context, so both in European and African countries, from which girls you would have the possibility to really speak up on what matters to them. And secondly, by involving government as well as regional and local institutions, including school and NGO, to discuss and engage youth in order to reach a common objective through the EU-AU partnership. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Canel. And Honourable Esther, I see that you're back. What we'll do is we'll continue with youth champions, and once they've finished, we'll come back to you for your remarks. So thank you for that. Okay, thank you, Kanal, and over now to Rama.
Okay, my name is Rahma Isa, and I'm a youth champion from Bungoma County, Kenya. I work for an organization called Bungoma Youth Connect, which is an organization dealing with issues related to the health of young people. It is a pleasure having you around. I will present you about the importance of promoting girls' rights, health, and in particular, sexual and reproductive health and rights of girls. In 2020, more than 300 million girls under the age of 18 live in Africa, and this number will increase by 20% come 2030. Remember, girls represent the future and also play a very important role. In my country, Kenya, 1 out of every 5 Kenyan is about the age of 15 to 24. It is important for young women, to access youth-friendly and sexual reproductive health care services in public health facilities. These services need to be affordable, acceptable, attainable, and free from judgment, responding to the specific needs of young people. In my country, Kenya, only 1 in 10 public health facilities were equipped to provide these youth-friendly services and sexual reproductive health services as at 2017. It is estimated that 1.54 billion children and youth around the world are affected by COVID-19 pandemic and currently out of schools due to school closure, including nearly 743 million girls. Over 101 million of these girls are living in sub-Saharan Africa, where getting education is a struggle. This exposes our girls to high risk of violence by family members and also limiting girls to access to essential healthcare services, such as access to family planning. Girls, girls are also disproportionately affected by specific diseases. New HIV infection among women between the age of 15 to 24 are at 44% higher than boys. 7 in 10 girls in sub-Saharan Africa don't have comprehensive knowledge about HIV, which they could have gotten it in youth-friendly centers. In Bungoma County, the rate of teenage pregnancy has risen during this COVID-19 period. Young girls at the age of 10 to 19 as at from January was at 1,165 in Kandui sub-county, 787 in Webuye sub-county, 778 in Cheptai sub-county, 697 in Tongaren sub-county, 508 in Mount Elgon sub-county, and 109 in Sirisia sub-county. We simply cannot ignore the sexual and reproductive health needs of girls, including that of 9 million Kenyan, that is male and female, who need information and services on how they can make healthy decisions. Information is power. Remember, young people need to get information of when to have sex, when to have a safer sex, when to have children, and to have children in a healthy way, as per how they desire. I strongly encourage the EU and AU to hear to our concern as girls need, as well as our proposed solution by supporting our meaningful participation in shaping the EU-Africa partnership. I also request the EU and AU to promote the allocation of funds for universal access to girls' health to youth-friendly health services. These services need to be equitable, accessible, affordable, and need-based. These include funding for the grassroots CSOs that are delivering services for sexual reproductive health. The EU and AU should also fight harmful gender norms and laws that prevent our girls from accessing their health services. Girls need to live a healthy life and a self-determined life. Make use of political dialogues between the EU and African countries to support adoption and implementation of policies in favor of sexual reproductive health and rights. I also ask the support of African partners countries in responding to COVID-19 crisis in comprehensive way by strengthening of health services and universal access to sexual reproductive health as part of universal health coverage. Remember, girls are the present leaders of the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahma. Elena, over to you now. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Kim.
Hello and good afternoon from Greece. My name is Elena and I'm a girl guide from the Greek Guiding Association. On behalf of my group, allow me to thank Mep Zakarappalu and Honorable Odiambo for their presence today and willingness to exchange with us, young advocates for the European Week of Action for Girls. My role as an external relations volunteer at the Europe region of WAGS, the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, gave me the opportunity to join EWAG as a young advocate. And I'm very happy to be here today and have the opportunity to discuss education and girls' economic empowerment, topics that are of great importance to me. In my country, I'm volunteering directly with children aged from 7 to 11 years old, and leading a Brownie unit is a rewarding role for me as I follow Brownies in their journey through guiding and see them grow. During my experience at WAGS, I have learned that it is essential to support the development of young people, irrespective of their diverse abilities and financial background, so that they discover their full potential. Through the WAGS educational method, a unique model of non-formal education, our members aspire to become active citizens through learning by doing in small groups while connecting with others and the world. We are committed to advancing youth development through delivering quality non-formal education and helping young people acquire life skills, values, and resilience to social changes. I have also discussed these topics with my fellow EWAG advocates, and together we have shaped key messages and recommendations to promote access to education and support girls' economic empowerment everywhere, especially in less developing countries. At this point, I would also like to take the opportunity to thank my EWAG group for their fruitful exchange we had despite the distance. Girls and young women face multiple barriers in education and economic empowerment. We would like to stress the significance of mainstreaming and inclusion of girls and young women in the future EU-Africa partnership. Our recommendations for the implementation of the strategy include equitable access to formal and non-formal education for all girls and young women that will thrive in a safe educational environment with proper sanitation facilities. Now, digital transformation is a major part of the EU-Africa strategy. We should make sure that proper measures are implemented with regard to promoting girls as drivers of digital transformation. The digital gender divide does not encourage gender equality, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. This is most relevant as COVID-19 increases countries' reliance on digital devices. Therefore, we should promote digital skills and girls' participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics courses while tackling stereotypes and gender biases in curricula. We need to be ensured that learning resources, exam content, and curricula do not favor boys over girls. When you educate a girl, everything changes. She can learn up to 25% more per year of secondary school and is 3 times less likely to be HIV positive. Will invest in her children's education and change her community from within. Hence, I encourage European leaders and governments to fight illiteracy and invest into empowering girls and young women to bridge the gender gap in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena. Now let's move on to Claudia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia, and I'm 22. I'm Ghanaian, and I volunteer with the Youth Action Movement of Ghana. And I'm really excited to be an EWAG Youth Advocate and to speak on behalf of the EWAG Youth Advocates in my thematic group and other young people on sexual and gender-based violence and recommendations to shape the EU-AU partnership. Well, studies by UNFPA and other agencies shows that many reported cases of sexual violence are perpetrated by either intimate partners, family members, close family relations, persons already known to the survivor, who in one way or the other fend for these survivors, who are usually girls. These abused girls tend not only to suffer physical pain, but also suffer what I would call a more severe and deadlier form of pain, which is the emotional or mental pain or trauma. These cases, however, in engagement and interactions with some young girls remain underreported, basically because of deep-rooted cultural and traditional beliefs, high fees for medical examination required of survivors of rape to pay, fear that the victims might lose their source of survival as they may be solely dependent on the perpetrators. Though many governments, including Ghana, have laws on sexual and gender-based violence and have signed on to commitments to end violence against women and girls, several of them remain under-implemented or unimplemented, and GBV is still rampant. So I'm very glad that today I have the opportunity to engage or speak to policymakers, Honorable Chrysula, Honorable Milio Diambo, and Honorable Esther on some of the interventions that the IWA Youth Advocates in my thematic group were able to come up with. So the first recommendation to shape the future partnership of the EU and Africa will be to give special attention to preventing and responding to GBV against women and girls through continuous awareness creation on GBV, funding actions for youth-friendly protection services, psychosocial services, and the provision of shelters. So what the European Parliament could do is to make sure that the EU budget, there is an allocation for funding youth-friendly protection services and systems and other services to SGBV survivors. The second will be to ensure that the international and regional commitments to end harmful practices and GBV are fully translated into concrete and adequately funded actions within the partnership, including monitoring and evaluation of the process and the progress of these commitments. So what MPs in Africa can do is to make sure that the international and regional commitments are implemented at the national level, and then the European Parliament should also commit EU funding to see to the implementation and monitoring of the progress of these commitments. I'd like to thank MEP Zakarappalu, MP Odiambo, and all policymakers and young persons for making time and giving us an audience. Thank you and merci.
A big thank you, Claudia, and a big thank you to all the EWAG Youth Champions for their thoughtful and detailed recommendations and proposal. And I'd like to give the floor now to Honourable Esther to hear her introductory remarks and perhaps her reactions to some of what the Youth Champions are saying. So over to you, Honourable Esther.
Sorry, I gathered we lost each other. I could hear everything. First of all, I'm so glad when I see young people participating and getting active in issues pertaining to the girl child, because it's they bear the brunt of what's going on, and we can make laws only when we hear and when they come to the table and discuss what ails them. Well, as I said, I'm a first-time parliamentarian, and sometimes we find that we make laws, but the laws are not adequate to cover everyone. And that's a big challenge that I found. We have, for instance, sanitary towels being given free of charge for our girls, but we only cater for public schools. So you find we have a lot of schools, community-based schools, that are not getting sanitary towels, and they're the most vulnerable. So we have to find a way to ensure that when we put a law to look after girls, the net is cast a lot wider, because especially during the pandemic, we also realized that sanitary towels were not distributed, schools were closed, and a lot of our girls stayed without sanitary towels. In terms of safe houses, we've also seen that we have a problem in that we don't have enough state-funded safe houses. And during this pandemic, we also saw a lot of defilement. Now, recently, the CS of Education made an announcement that if you are pregnant, we've opened the schools, you've got to sit your exams, come to school. So we realize as well that during this pandemic, a lot of girls young girls have gotten pregnant. And as Millie had said, we have a big challenge in trying to make the laws that could help our young girls. What's happening right now is we're trying to wear blinders and not realize or accept the fact that our girls are engaging in sex much earlier. And Europe gives contraceptives to young girls. Some countries 15, 16, 17. That has become a very big challenge. There's also been the conversation of lowering the age of consent. Without lowering the age of consent, I think we should allow for contraceptives and sex education, comprehensive sex education in schools. Because if we don't allow that, then what we're doing is we're not going to win the war against abuse, teenage pregnancies, unsafe abortion, children not coming out and saying, oh, I've been defiled, knowing good touch, bad touch. So Africa has challenges in that the church is still very, very strong. And not that the church is not strong in Europe and other countries. I mean, Ireland, for one, legalized abortion. Why? Because they realize that there's a lot of people having abortions, and it's time to make sure it's, in fact, for them it was monetary. Have it come to stay in Ireland instead of going to London. But in Africa, we have a lot of unsafe abortions and a lot of children that are suffering. So we've got to look at all these issues holistically, and what should drive us is the girl child and what she's undergoing and what are her challenges, especially when you live in informal settlements where you don't have a lot of security. Mental health is also a big issue. A lot of young mental health citizens are finding themselves being defiled, and that's another area that we also have to look into. So it's not enough to have legislation. I'm in the SDG caucus. You might have legislation, but if you don't have government doing the necessary programs, and everything that we're doing in Kenya is relying on civil society and donor funding, we have a problem. So I think it's time that we also, as government, recognize that during the pandemic, a lot of donors cut the funding. And when they cut the funding, it meant that a lot of our civil society organizations were not able to continue the work that they were doing. So we also have to make sure that government recognizes and finds a way to fund the civil society where they have gaps in providing certain services like shelters, safe houses, the organizations that provide sanitary towels, etc. So all in all, I think the conversation for the girl child is ongoing, but we need bigger strides. We're making very small strides. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Esther. And I'm just going to come now to Honourable Millie. I know you have to leave fairly soon. I just wanted to get your reactions to the recommendations from the EWAG champions before you leave.
Sorry, you kept fluctuating and getting on and off. So what, can you repeat the recommendations?
Oh, my apologies. Oh, okay. I was just coming now to Honourable Millie, because I believe she has to leave fairly shortly. And I just would like to get her reactions to the recommendations from the youth champions. So over to Honourable Millie.
Thank you. I guess maybe just like Esther, I don't know why we are having a bit of a problem, a challenge today with the net. So I got some of the issues, and I missed some of the issues. But first of all, let me also just agree with Esther that I'm very encouraged seeing a lot of young people from all of Africa that have come out very, very strongly on these issues. Maybe as policymakers, we are available to work together with young people in legislative amendments. Some of the issues that Issa, I think, raised on reproductive rights issues affecting young people. I think I indicated earlier that we don't really have a strong legal framework yet. And as a parliament, and I think Esther and I have been working very, very strongly with the Honorable Kihika as well. And we are hoping that we can work towards a stronger legal framework on some of the issues that our girls are facing. issues of sexual and gender-based violence, issues of, reproductive rights and care, especially during crises and emergencies like the pandemic. There is no proper, legal framework to deal with them. And so what we'll be doing as legislators is to follow and make sure that there's a stronger legal framework. But then also there's a need for enhanced collaborative work with civil society. I know we've been doing some work with civil society, but there is a need for even stronger ties with civil society and other agencies that are working on these issues so that, our voices are heard, much stronger. I think that's what I could say for now, and receive my apologies yet again that I have to leave. We are actually going with Esther for the same meeting. We have been engaged the whole day, but I'm chairing this meeting as members of Parliament for Kenya. We have come together through our caucus, the Parliamentarians for Global Action, to preach peace in diversity and unity in diversity, that despite our diverse backgrounds, we can actually work together. And we are doing that through the very famous Jerusalem Challenge. So we've been in Parliament the whole day. Esther will tell you that we are extremely exhausted, but we promised, and they actually, we requested a discontinuous so that we can come and engage in this meeting. And we are going back for an evening sunset. So it's so that it's not just about doing the challenge, but it's a challenge with a very specific message that if you have, like recently, there was some political duel and 2 young people died. And we want to send a message that we can have different ideologies without fighting or killing each other. So we are diverse parties coming together to preach the message of unity in diversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Millie, for giving us insight into your work, and for your thoughtful words as well, and for making the time to speak to us on a busy day. So thank you for that. And I'll turn now to Mep Chrysula to hear her thoughts about what the youth had to say. The youth champions. Over to you.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to all of you, the champions, for your remarks. I saw that Canela, she spoke about the platforms that can put the youth, African and European youth together. So, Canela, I'd like to tell you that the new strategy, we propose EU-Africa strategy for youth, and that has encouraged through platforms or other digital tools, the communication between you. Many of you, they speak about sexual and reproductive rights, and also it is something that we promote strongly in this report. And we speak, just to tell you, we call for an ambitious GAP, Gender Action Plan 3, and because we believe that we have to end the gender violence, the female genital mutilation, forced marriages, and to promote the sexual reproductive rights, because all of us, we have the right to control our own body. Another thing that we promote with this report is the protection of every individual to have full control, as I said, and we saw that during the COVID period, we had a backlash, a very important backlash on this issue, not only in Africa, but also in Europe. So we can work together to find solutions. Elena spoke about the human development, about education, about the empowerment through education. Elena, I'm very happy because maybe as a doctor, I put the human development at the center of this report. Education and the health are the condition, the condition for the rest. So thank you very much for your observation. Claudia spoke about also she spoke about sexual reproductive rights, and as I answered before, Claudia, I think that we promote totally the sexual reproductive rights, and of course we speak about digital. I think that we have also the digital illiteracy, and the victims are the girls. So we propose to close this digital gender gap through this new strategy. Just to finish with something, my colleagues spoke about Jerusalem challenging. I thought that this year, as you know, we are not going to have EU-Africa summit. And we are going to vote in the European Parliament and the end of November this strategy. So I was a dancer when I was in Greece, and I started to learn the path. And my idea is that from the European Parliament, some members, we dance, because at the end of the story, in front of the COVID, we are all human beings. There's not African people, European people, American people. All of us, women and girls, we are in the same position. So we have to say thanks to life. That's why we want to make this dance. And I just call to you if it will be nice if you can participate, and we can send a message at the globe and also to our friends in Europe and in Africa that we fight together for a better life, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, MEP Chrysula. Thank you very much for that, and I can't wait to see that dance when it materializes. Now let's go to some questions. There are members of the audience with questions. Chalo has a question. Chalo, do you want to go ahead with your question? Hang on.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Chalo Manengu. I'm a child's rights defender and an ambassador for sexual reproductive health rights under the European Week of Action for Girls. Thank you so much, honorable members of Parliament and all distinguished members present in this meeting today. So my question is, what programs do you have as the EU about sexual reproductive health rights, and how have you engaged young people from Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Chalo. We'll give that question directly back to MEP Chrysula, if you could take that question on.
Yes, thank you for your question, Chalo. We have, as I said, the Gender Action Plan that 1 and 2, and now we push to have a third one, and it was a promise of the Commissioner Urpilainen. And we have, you know, the spotlight against violence. And this is also with, I think, 500 million of euros to fight, you know, against violence. And I think that this is the two tools, the most important tools that we have.
Thank you very much for that. I believe there's another question. This one comes from Adam. Adam, if you can, I will unmute you and you can pose your question.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adam from Tanzania. I believe that to address the problem of violence against women and girls, we need to address the underlying factors of this violence, including by fighting harmful social norms and gender stereotypes, and by addressing the issue of acceptance of the violence within the community. As a parliamentarian, which measure can you take to fight against these harmful gender norms and stereotypes, and so as to help the fight against gender-based violence as well?
Thank you, Adam. Let me just check if Honourable Esther is still on the line, if she's happy to take that question on.
I'm on the line and I'm in my car heading to my meeting, so I decided to just stay connected. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we have to involve the men, okay? When it comes to distribution of sanitary towels, I made sure that every organization that has men working towards protecting the girl child and distributing sanitary towels and educating their fellow men on the need to protect the girl child was incorporated into our programs. So you would find that we wouldn't distribute sanitary towels just through women. We would also use organizations that are run by men that want to also come in and teach other men to respect, not to defile, to protect, you know. So I think in terms of involving the society, we need to ensure that our men feel comfortable. And these are the future, these are young men and these are the future fathers. So that the conversation of the girl child in terms of comprehensive sex education can start, because if the men are holding the sanitary towels, they will be in a position to then discuss period or menstruation with their daughters in the future. So I think what we need, as I said, we need holistic approaches, and holistic approaches means inclusive. He for she is a campaign that really needs to be taken to the grassroots so that we can protect our girls, because after all, the perpetrators are men.
And while we still have you on the line, I know you're probably going to have to disappear shortly, but any sort of final remarks, because we are coming towards the end of the event, any final remarks from you, Honourable Esther?
What I can say is we do a lot of talk and we have a lot of conversations. What we need to do is see how can we move these conversations into action. And I think every little thing counts, you know. So every single day, you know, like Wangari Maathai had something saying, my little thing was planting trees. All right. So every little day, what's your little thing? What are you going to do every day to ensure that a girl is empowered? Whether it's watching her is so girl child. I think every single day, let's look at what's my little thing towards ensuring that we empower our girls. We can't wait for the celebrations like International Girls' Day to discuss what's important about girls. Let's do something every single day. Every single day we can touch a girl's life.
Thank you very much, Honourable Esther. Really appreciate your time. And I'd like to come now to Mep Chrysula for her final remarks.
Yes, thank you. Just to say that if we want to change, as Adam said, the stereotypes, how we can change, I can observe that where women participate to the political life, you know, when they are involved in political decision, the society can so change. So just I call all of you that maybe we can be inspired by the women like, for example, Esther, and like that she works for gender equality, and it's not all the time easy, but she can be a model. So girls have to dare to speak out. They have to have confidence in themselves. They don't have they don't censor themselves because of stereotypes. There are many women today that they are protagonists. They are good models. If me, I'm here, you can be here if you want. And you have to continue to fight, and we are here to help you.
Thank you very much for that. I did say that we're coming towards an end, but we have Joseph from Kenya who has a question from Honourable Esther. I will just see if she's still there. Honourable Esther, are you still connected? No. Oh, no, she is. Okay, perfect. Okay, Joseph, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph from Kenya, and I have a question for Esther Pasaris. And we all know that comprehensive sexuality education is very key to making sure that young people access age-appropriate information that can enable them to make informed decisions and choices, and can help to tackle issues such as teenage pregnancies, early marriages, and all that. So in Kenya, it has faced a lot of challenges on the side of policy and acceptance from religious leaders. I just want to know where are we in making sure that this materializes into making sure that young people access CSC, maybe in schools or maybe for CSOs.
Okay, look, I mean, as I said, it's a church again, you know, saying we shouldn't discuss comprehensive sex education in classrooms because then we're going to teach our children how to have sex earlier. The kids are already having sex earlier. That's why we have so many children dropping out of school. We had one county with 11,000 girls being pregnant during the examination, and they were all under 15 years old. So, you know, at the moment, even if they don't want to allow comprehensive sexual education in schools, it's already happening in terms of conversation. Parents have to start talking to their children. So we have to take the conversation back to the households and tell parents, look, so many girls are getting pregnant. Your girl could be next. What do you have to do about it? Talk to her. You know, parents have to stop thinking that the responsibility of their children lies strictly in the schools. They also have to take the responsibility to discuss it. It seems un-African to discuss sex. But I'm saying the generation is changing, like you, Joseph. Your generation is changing. You will be able to discuss menstruation with your daughter. You will be able to discuss the dangers of early sex, you know, in terms of pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases. So I believe that there's a generation shift, and it's very sad because the lack of comprehensive sex education is making a lot of children engage in sex, not realizing what are the dangers besides pregnancy. And this is, you know, hormones are raging, and the kids are going to get to do what they're going to do in schools. So I think it's really sad that they're paying such a high price of getting pregnant. And of course, the boy child continues with his education. The girl child drops out and becomes a mom. And then majority of them get ruptures when they're giving birth because, they cannot have abortion. They have no access to the morning after, even if they were defiled. So it's a vicious circle of wrong. And, that we hope that Susan Kahika's sexual reproductive health bill goes through. I know the report writing was done because that's the first step. You know, we've got to stop pretending we're holier than thou. Even in Rome, where, in Italy, where the Vatican sits, abortion is legal. Why not in Kenya? So, you know, we're playing the religious card at the moment, and it's endangering a lot of our girls. And that's really sad. But if we keep talking, and all our girls on social media and all our boys on social media, we should be able to educate them. So why don't you do this, Joseph? Come up with a little video talking to your age mates about what it means to engage in early sex. What are the dangers? The importance of protecting yourself.
Thank you for that, Joseph. There you go. A very practical thing to take on. We've come to the end of our event, and I want to give an enormous thanks to our parliamentarians, Honourable Esther, Honourable Millie, MEP Chrysula, and our EWAG youths, Kanel, Rama, Elena, and Claudia. Thank you all for taking part in what I thought was a very thoughtful and interesting discussion. And thank you to the audience and those who posed questions and all those who are just watching at home. Thank you.